Hey, what's up everybody? It's video 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, this is the second to last team that I have in regards to my talk series. It's been great studying these teams, and right here and now I'm going to let you know what I found out about the Toronto Raptors. NBA champion Toronto Raptors from 2 years ago. Now, of course, you know of them from winning with Kawhi Leonard. He came down there for his lone season and brought them to the promised land along with several other players on that team who really did a fantastic job. A rookie head coach by the name of Nick Nurse who stood with his team. You got to give credit to the GM there, Masai Ujiri, who's done a great job since he's come into the league, and now ultimately with the Toronto Raptors, helping lead them to a championship from his position as well. So this is more so a rebuilding year at this point. They are hard capped, but I look at the back of their bench and just don't see a whole lot of depth there. However, they do have some very nice stuff at the top, particularly defensive players and players that can make other players better. So if there's some potential to be found at the back of this bench with some of these guys, they will have opportunities because they will play and they'll have facilitators down there that can make them look as good as possible. So I can pretty much guarantee that one of these dudes down here who I did do a lot of homework on will probably have a breakout year or become someone you are aware of on this roster, because it's just simply they're a shallow team, to be completely honest with you, and there's going to be opportunities. So yeah, let's get into this roster. First of all, the first name I want to mention is Fred VanVleet. Really fantastic star level guard. Can pretty much do a whole lot of everything for you. Scoring the ball more so is his thing, score first player. And ultimately, he's just someone that you feel really good about finally getting an opportunity to start at the point guard position. Now, obviously, they've had Kyle Lowry as their point guard for the last several years, maybe about 7 years, won a championship with him. And he now moves on to Miami. So that gives Fred an opportunity to step in and finally show that he's a leading guard in this league. And nobody would be surprised when he plays well, because we've already seen him do it. He's just basically somebody who's looking to lead a team at this point. I believe he's going to be pretty much the star of the show on this squad, to go along with some other guys as well. But he's going to be the one that you look at to really take the bulk of the shots, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Fred can do if he can play his way into some all-star appearances over the next several years, see what type of player he can step out and become. Of course, stay healthy, but we know he has a killer instinct about him and a certain level of intensity about his offensive game that's definitely going to translate when given big minutes. So I'm excited about him, and he's going to be the first name we talk about there. All right, next up, Pascal Siakam. Now, Pascal is hurt, and I'm not sure how long he's going to be out. I think he's going to miss probably a couple of weeks of the season. But we know that he is definitely one of the most important pieces on this team. NBA champion, power forward. Guy who's had some ups and downs, to be completely honest with you, but we have seen him at his best, and when he's scoring 40 points for you repeatedly. He's just somebody that you understand has a lot of go-to moves in his wheelhouse and things that he loves to do that tend to work for him. So he's the type of player that's just going to do what works. And if it's working, like I said, he'll light you up. The problem right now is just trying to figure out if he is a part of the future for this team. They've obviously just drafted some power forward by the name of Scotty Barnes that we'll get into later. They also brought in a high-level guy by the name of Precious Achiuwa with a similar body type. So I'm just wondering if Pascal Siakam, even though he can play multiple positions like those other guys, if he's ultimately the piece they want to keep at that price. Because that's really what it comes down to. Being that they're hard-capped, do you really need Pascal Siakam taking up the majority or his majority of your cap space when you have those other big high-level power forward, small forward combination players? So I like Pascal Siakam a lot, but I've also understood this, and that's why I'm looking for them to possibly move on from him at some point in time soon, I think. I think that, the writing's been on the wall in the offseason. Talks about him going to possibly Sacramento, talks about him being involved in this and that. So I don't know if they're going to be moving on. I then heard that they said that they would not be moving on from him, but at the end of the day, if they want to kind of get out from under that cap and kind of give some of these other players an opportunity to kind of stretch their rings at his position, then it would probably behoove them to look for a spot for Pascal Siakam. So if they don't, he'll be a star level guy. I think he's a strong candidate to be their number two on this team this year. And, more of the same I expect from him. He's only going to get better. He's not going to get any worse in this league. He's a good player. And it's just about, him finding a home if he hasn't already found one here. So I like Pascal Siakam. Like I said, he's an NBA champion. He has that level of experience. He has value in this league, so it shouldn't be too difficult to move him if they were to choose to. So, next name up, Gary Trent Jr., shooter they got from Portland. I like this guy a lot. They paid him in the offseason. Young player. Obviously, we know his father's played in the NBA, Gary Trent, back in the 90s. This is a guy who can really, really light it up from three, and he's only going to continue, as I said about Pascal, to get better. And being that you have him set in stone for the next several years, you just know exactly what he's going to give you, 3-and-D stuff. And he has some athleticism to him as well. So I look forward to him taking a step forward, playing his way into a huge role with this team, starting even if that opportunity is available at that shooting guard position, it should be. And just doing what it is that he does, stepping into his own, letting it fly, because that's definitely what Gary Trent's going to bring to the table. All right, next up, Chris Boucher, a really, really intriguing young player that they got in the second round several years back, 46 in the 17th draft. This guy is 6'9", but has a 7'4" wingspan, and is really continuing to just get better and better and better, clearly outplaying his draft status. Chris Boucher, I love his game. I love his role on this team. Kind of came out of nowhere, and is a defensive presence, a rebounding presence, lob threat, somebody that you really have to deal with that length. He affects a lot of things. Very smart basketball player, somebody who's going to continue to get better. Like I said, this is about the youth movement on this team. They got a lot of young pieces, a lot of guys who are going to get better. And as they grow together, I think they have something. I would love for them to get some flexibility, as I said. But when you think about a piece like Chris Boucher, who's a guy who can play the center position, play the four, comfortable coming off the bench, not somebody who's going to take points away from anybody, but is going to affect the defense quite a bit, give you second chance points, things of that nature. Chris Boucher is a fluid player. He runs the floor well, stuff like that. So I'm a big fan of Chris Boucher. I think it's not too many systems that he can't play in. And this is the making of a huge roster. That's what I'm telling you. The thing about these guys is that they all have size, with the exception of their guards. When you start getting into their forwards and you start getting into their shooting guards that have the ability to shoot, these guys have bigger bodies than your average. And that's what I love about the Raptors. At the end of the day, even though they don't have the deepest team, the players you are dealing with are huge. So let's keep it pushing. All right, next name up, Goran Dragic. Now we know Goran Dragic from Miami. Obviously, he played some good years in Phoenix. This is somebody we know of who has a great handle, finishes fantastically well. He's been in this league for a long time now, all-star level player, someone who can score the ball pretty much at will when he's on. He's had some injury issues here and there. You don't really expect him to make it through a season at this stage in his career, but when he's healthy, you pencil him in for a good 15 to 17 points when he's on. And I like Goran Dragic, always have. A little long in the tooth at this stage in his career, but I think the role for him is fantastic because he does have other guards that are going to be in a position to not only do what it is that he does, but also run with him and kind of do some of the things that he does, and kind of be someone they play off of as well. That's what I like about Goran Dragic. If you need to move him to the 2 and have him playing off ball, he can do that extremely comfortably. If you put the ball in his hands, he can do all the things you need him to do, both with it and without it. So Goran Dragic is another one of those extremely fluid players, guy who's going to make other people better, guy who's going to get guys in their spots, and a guy who's going to be a definite threat from pretty much 3 levels. So I really like Goran Dragic, especially when you consider what they're losing in Kyle Lowry. I think Goran Dragic can give them some of that offensive pop that can kind of go along with Fred VanVleet, so he's not left out there alone. Have that kind of dynamic that he's used to. So that really works for me. I like them bringing in Goran Dragic quite a bit for what they're trying to do. All right, next up, Svi Mykhailiuk. Now, if you know of me, you know I'm a Laker fan, and I always mention Laker kids. That's something I'm always do. So Svi is one of them. They have a couple of them on this roster, and I really like Svi, man. His upside is much better than the opportunities he's been shown. When he was with the Lakers, we had a bad team full of kids. He was just one of them and showed us a lot of good things. Coming out of college, you could see that he had a lot of pop. You know, this dude can create for himself. He's basically a scoring weapon. He can get hot in a hurry. Very, very athletic, too. He can get off the floor and jam. So this is somebody I love watching play. He has all the handles in the world. That's another thing. He's extremely, extremely gifted with the ball in his hands. And, you know, I just really, really think that his opportunities to be his best has yet to come. You know, Svi is somebody who's just kind of played in bad situations. He went from the Lakers to Detroit, got lost up there, and they moved him around, sent him off to OKC, did a couple things there, but OKC is kind of, you know, just they're doing their rebuilding thing, so he was just making a pit stop there. Hopefully, with Toronto, he can finally have a spot where he gets in his role as a backup scoring punch off the bench who can play both the 1 and the 2 and stretch the floor very well. That three-point shot is good, man, and he can step right into it off the dribble about as well as any young prospect out there. So I'm extremely high on Svi. He's gotten lost, but I look at him as a productive weapon that's going to continue to provide scoring punch on any team that gives him an opportunity. So I'm pretty certain he's going to do just that for y'all, Toronto. All right, next up, Isaac Bonga. Same thing, Laker kid. Exact same thing, as a matter of fact. Same years he played with Svi Mykhailiuk on the Lakers during that tenure. And, you know, like I said, you know, it's pretty much copy and paste. They have different skill sets, but it's more or less the same thing in terms of their upside. What I like about Isaac is he's very, very large. He's a big guy, big length and tall, and he's comfortable playing the point guard position. And it's one of those situations where you want him to continue to work hard because he came into the league so very young. He was a guy we drafted, and if I'm not mistaken, he was fresh 18. He had just got, you know, his 18-year-old status. So at this point, you know that it's still early. Even though it's been several years, he's also been in some situations where he's jumped around from Washington, and you can see he's had a similar path as well to Svi, and ultimately, you know, has just yet to get that opportunity. But one thing's for certain, because of his size, because of his ability to facilitate, because of his athleticism and things of that nature he can bring to the table with his play, he can be put in different positions. You can put him at the 2. You can put him at the 3 in small ball situations, and he will be effective. This is a guy who has yet to develop, you know, as he's going to in terms of what he's going to be. I don't think the NBA has quite discovered what he's going to be. I don't think people have really paid attention to him like they should, because this is another big guard, very big guard. You know how they're picking up the Cade Cunninghams, you love the Luka Doncic's and people like that because of their size and their ability to make people better. That he has size and he has the ability to make people better. Not at that level, don't get it twisted, but I'm saying if you're looking for a guy who's like 6'8" and he's a point guard, not going to cost you a whole lot, he can help make other people better, etc. This guy's sitting over there in Toronto chilling. He just got there, and I think he's going to have a good year playing backup point guard for them. So pretty high on Isaac Bonga. I am. He's going to be a good role player for a long time. All right. Next up, Khem Birch. Like Khem Birch as well. Like Khem Birch from out of Orlando. He's a guy who's paid his dues. You know, when you find yourself in Orlando playing behind Vucevic, you are in the back of the NBA cellar. You are not known. But this is a guy who knew himself. He put himself in a position to, every time Vucevic got hurt, anytime he got an opportunity, obviously Mo Bamba was too. He had opportunities to show that he could play, and when he did just that. Rebounded the ball very well, scored inside very well, did all the things you needed him to do, setting picks, things like that, and earned himself a nice contract with the Toronto Raptors. After being traded there last year, I believe he had a really good season with them as well when guys were starting to get hurt. I think Chris Boucher had to step away for, I think, either COVID or something. I don't remember. But he had a chance to step in and really, really ball out, earning himself that contract. And I think he's going to be a very good center for this team. I don't know what their plans is in terms of how they want to play, because they do have some versatile guys that will allow them to do some things. But one thing's for certain, he's earned an opportunity to play quite a bit on this team. I think he's going to have a very good role. So, yeah, that's Khem Birch. He's going to be good for Toronto. All right. Next up, let's see. Oh, I didn't mention OG. Obviously, OG Anunoby. OG Anunoby is one of the most important players on this team, man. He's a star on this team. I just kind of skipped over his name. My bad. But OG's, you know, obviously a big-body dude. I look at him and I say defense comes to mind first. Even though he can stretch the floor some, he's a guy who put it on the floor. He has a lot of offensive skills. But for me, When I think of OG Anunoby, I just think about his body and his presence moving laterally and putting him on bigger players, putting him on players that otherwise are very, very good, and just allowing him to track them. And they have a theme on this Toronto team of players that can do just that. So when you think of OG Anunoby, he's an extremely important piece. Do not get it twisted. He's going to score the ball for them. He's going to rebound the ball. He's turning into a star-level small forward. He just tends to find himself injured a lot. That's the only thing. I would say he's somewhat injury-prone, tends to not be around. But when he's out there, he's a heck of a player. I think over the years, the question about him has been not only about his health, but more so about his effort, or more so his energy and intensity. The game is always there, but has he always been as aggressive as it may dictate that he should be? Well, over the last year or so, he's been able to answer that question. And being that he's stepping into a role where he's going to be asked to do more, I expect that he's going to do just that. So I think he's shaking that off. At this point, I think the confidence is there, the game is there, and this should be a breakout year for OG Anunoby. Starting the season healthy, they're not going to have Pascal Siakam, got a bunch of youngsters surrounding him. He should have a big start to the season. I expect that from OG Anunoby. All right, let's keep it going, man. Keep it going. So they got a couple guys here that I did not do homework on, as I said at the beginning of the video. And as a side note, it's important that I mention in regards to Toronto Raptors, last year they spent their entire season in Tampa Bay. They were displaced, the only NBA team that was displaced. So I gave them a pass on any losses or things like that may have happened with that season. They had a very, very difficult road, and so on and so forth. They were in flux. They knew they had some players on the team that probably wouldn't be coming back, Lowry's last year, that kind of thing. So, I didn't give much thought to anything that happened with the Toronto Raptors last year. Just wipe that away and let's just move forward. That's how I look at it. All right, so here are the players that I didn't really do homework on, but I did write some things down, so let's talk about it. Sam Dekker's on this team. He's been out of the league for like 5 years, and they brought Sam Dekker back, so obviously the scouts saw something overseas wherever he was and decided to bring him back. Big, small forward. I've seen him play well, so I know he can go a little bit. I've seen him play his best game, and as a matter of fact, I think he played his best game against the Lakers. Big, huge, small forward. That's the thing I liked about Sam Dekker from the beginning. He was always a big guy. You could play him at the 4 comfortably, but his skill set allowed him to be the 3 just fine. And rebound the ball, inside presence, high energy guy. Always looked like he was a workout warrior. 10 times more in shape than a lot of the players he was going up against. That's what I noticed about Sam Dekker. He's almost like he was just constantly working out. The type of dude be in the gym for 10 hours a day. He looked like that to me. And he just, he really, really used his size well. I don't know why he didn't get the opportunities that his draft status would dictate. Obviously, it's been many years. But Sam Dekker was a high-level prospect coming out of college and just did not really pan out the way that he thought he would. But second chances are for everyone. And it seems to me that he's going to get a very good opportunity with the team. As I said, it doesn't have a lot of players playing significant roles. He may be able to step in and have that presence to show that the hard work that he's put in over the last several years has paid off, that what those scouts saw in him was not in vain. So I'm optimistic that Sam Dekker can do some good things for this Toronto Raptor team, especially since he's another big body small forward. I love the theme that I'm seeing here, and he's going to help complement the small forwards and power forwards that they have on this team just by doing the things that he does naturally. So I like Sam Dekker, always have. It's good to see him back in the league. All right, let's see. Delano Blanton, he was undrafted guy, 6'9" forward with a 6'10" wingspan. So guess what? Same thing. Another guy, big, small forward. I didn't do homework on Delano, but the body tells you all you need to know. When you're 6'9", 6'10", that means you are huge. That's what you need to know, and he's yet another one of those guys. So I love that theme. All right. Ishmael Wright is a guy out of Baylor, shooting guard, a 6'6" guy. And they also got David Johnson, another shooting guard, out of Louisville, 6'5" shooting guard. So, the theme is there. Average height for shooting guards and things of that nature. So, you can see the depth for the shooting guard position. They got a guy by the name of Paul Watson Jr. at 6'6" shooting guard. Same thing, Fresno State. So you're seeing a theme here. What I notice about the Toronto Raptors is they tend to like the same type of bodies. It's a plug and play type of thing there. They're looking for players that have similar body types to the players that they already have, and they want to be able to toss those players out at will and still have the same type of results. So that's what I'm thinking they're doing here. I like it. It's a good way to build in this situation, in my opinion. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Yuta Watanabe, yet another guy with fantastic length. We know him for, as I've said in previous videos, getting dunked on really historically by Anthony Edwards. He was the other guy on that dunk. It was legendary. So that's what I'm going to remember him from until something else happens. But Yuta Watanabe, the thing about him, the reason why he was on that dunk is because he does not care. He will try to block everything. And if you happen to be trying to dunk on him, you'd better convert, because he's going to try to block your shot. That's his thing. So I remember doing some homework on Yuta Watanabe several weeks back, and that was the thing that stood out, is his fearlessness. So he's going to be on posters. People are going to dunk on him because he's not afraid to be under there. No business decisions for that guy, and I respect it. All right. So, yeah, they got some guys. Also, Reggie Perry's on this squad. Freddie Gillespie. Those are guys going to be fighting for opportunities as well. Ishmael Wright, as I've already said. So, Justin Campagni is an undrafted guy out of Pittsburgh. So, they got a lot of guys that are on the back of this bench. They're just going to be trying to, make up what their bench is going to be. And like I said, one of these guys is going to be someone. One of them is going to make a name for themselves. It's just too much opportunity, in my opinion. So I don't know who any of those guys are, but I'm willing to bet I will by the end of the season. Somebody, one of them at least. So all right, now let's get into the guys I've done homework on. Let's see, a couple of them. I didn't do too many for this team, but I didn't think I needed to. I kind of got to understand that this team, either they have players that are really stars, or guys are going to be fighting in the back of the bench. That's what it is. All right, so let's check it out. Precious Achiuwa out of Memphis, 6'9", 7'2", wingspan, 20th pick taken in the draft last year by Miami. And I hated the idea that Miami let him go. I understood why they let him go. They're getting Kyle Lowry. Takes something good to get something good. But for me, Kyle Lowry, at this stage in his career, at that price, for Miami, I would just imagine that they're still going to lose to the Milwaukee Bucks or the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, I would rather have the high-level small forward, power forward combination who can cover a lot of space really fast. I think that's a better prospect than, going all in for Kyle Lowry at 30 plus, 35 or whatever years of age. I understand Miami's situation. It's just not a Miami video, but this is a player that should still be on the Miami Heat, and the Toronto Raptors have him, and they're going to love having him because this guy can really go. Power forward, center combination. Shot 49% from the field in college. Shot 32% from three in college, but his shot has greatly improved since college. He can really shoot it and shot it very well in Summer League. He's a walking double-double. Simple as that. Very explosive jumper, a versatile athlete. Has fantastic handle for his size. This guy really runs the floor well and has unique stuff in his wheelhouse. He can move with the best of them. Euro step, footwork, all types of spin moves and stuff like that. He's really a high-level, agile big, which is why Miami shouldn't have given him away. But anyway, grab and go. He's a fantastic grab and go guy. Of course, as I said, he could push the ball with his own ability. His footwork is good, his dribbling ability is good, so grab and go and transition starting is just part of it. So fantastic rebounder. He averaged 3 offensive rebounds a game in college. So, this is somebody who I think is going to continue to get better and continue to take on big roles for the Toronto Raptors. I don't see them sitting him very much, especially since Pascal Siakam's going to be out. So let me get back to my notes here. He's a help side problem, a very good help side player, good defensive instincts, covers a lot of ground, as I said, in a very short amount of time, can guard several positions, very smooth and quick lateral movement. And his length just makes for a pretty solid rim protector. As I said, he's a very good help side player. So, yeah, man, I don't know. I just really think Miami's going to live to regret that. At the end of the day, you don't get high-level athletic, good-sized power forwards who can stretch the floor every day. And to just let them go away for a ring opportunity, that, quite honestly, you're not going to get, just did not make any sense. I understood the idea of trying to match up the timeline for other players over there in Miami. You know, they're trying to win now, but I mean, you need a power forward. If you look at their roster, they don't have one. So, yeah, congratulations, Toronto and Masai Ujiri. You're the smarter of the two in this situation, in my opinion. Let's keep it pushing. Next up, Malachi Flynn. Malachi Flynn is a very good point guard on the Toronto Raptor bench. I was going to say on the back of the bench, but that's not true. I think he's going to move up and have a very big role as their guard off the bench who can play multiple positions. Well, the one and the two. He's a smaller guy. He's actually 6'1" with a 6'3" wingspan, but because he's so fantastic defensively, and because he can catch and shoot very well, I would say in some small ball situations you might get away with putting him at the two, but he's a one. He's a natural one. A very, very elite pick and roll player. This is a guy who studies the pick and roll on both sides of it and knows how to play it on both sides of it. He understands pick and roll. The more pick and roll you run with him, the more you're going to get out of Malachi Flynn. He's constantly active on offense. He's always moving. Very, very annoying guy to try to guard. He's going to be constantly looking to make other people better as well. He has a pass-first mentality, 5.1 assists a game. Crafty dude. 44% from field, 37% from three on 6 attempts. So I think his three-point percentage is going to increase over time. But the good thing is that he shoots fairly well, and he shoots a lot of them. So if you give him opportunities, he's going to stretch the floor for you. He uses screens extremely well. As I said, pick and roll nightmare. You know, good transition vision. You know, he's somebody you want pushing the break. If your big can't push the break, he's definitely looking for Malachi Flynn. And as I said, a facilitator's mindset. Although he shoots the three very well off the dribble, he can step into his own. Good range too. Can stretch it out a little further than NBA range. Has a spot-up go-to move at the three-point line. So that's a thing. It's like a little rhythm move that they kind of used on him in college, where they would run certain types of screens and then have him set up from the top of the three-point line straight ahead and just allow him to set that three-point shot. That's something that really, really worked for him. I think Nick Nurse will probably see opportunities to get him that shot as well. Most reliable when shooting open. Obviously, that's a redundant statement, but I think the most accurate way to describe the sentiment is when people are closing out on him, his shooting percentage goes down. And that's something he's going to have to work on. Nerves, you know. Guys are coming at you, but you still got to stay focused, still got to stay sharp, keep that ice in your veins. So that was something he needed to work on in college. I'm sure he's working on it now. Let's see. Looking at the wrong side there. Most reliable shooting over, has a strong floater game. Of course, he's a smaller guy, so if he didn't have a strong floater game, he'd be in a tough league for himself. But he does have a fantastic floater, shooting right-handed. 1.8 steals a game, so it translated. Even though, as I said, he's a smaller guy, the steals, the activity on defense, it shows. You know, he's a high-level, high IQ defender. You know, he plays the passing games extremely well. He's very good laterally and will pick you up full court. His defenders, people who were going against him when he was playing defense, offensive players, shot 34.5% against him defensively. So even though he's a smaller size guy and you're probably going to render him to playing only ones, he's going to lock them ones up. And that's a very, very important thing because they have a lot of that on this team. Defense is big on Toronto. And you know, because of defense, they drafted a guy by the name of Scotty Barnes. They passed on a guy by the name of Jalen Suggs. A lot of people wondering if that was the move. I think it was the right decision. They didn't need Jalen Suggs. Like I said, they got Malachi Flynn. They got Fred VanVleet. They didn't need Jalen Suggs necessarily. But what they did need is to continue building this big lineup full of defensive players who can be very versatile, switch easy, and lock people down. And that's exactly what they've done in picking up Scotty Barnes. Simply one of the best defensive players maybe ever. Honestly, maybe ever. He's going to immediately come in like Ben Simmons and be one of the elite defensive players in basketball, just off metrics in mind alone. He was one of the most exciting players for me coming out of college this year. I'm super high on Scotty Barnes. I understand that he's limited in some ways, but he's getting better at his weaknesses at a rapid pace, which makes it so that you have even more faith in him than I did when I first found out about him. So, Scotty Barnes, let's get into it. Florida State prospect, 6'9", 7'2" wingspan, the exact same metrics as Precious Achiuwa. Exact same metrics. 227 pounds, 50% field goal shooter in college at Florida State, 27% from the three, although he's been hitting it, especially in summer league. You've seen him hit it. So hopefully that'll translate, and he will take good three-point shots and take them when he needs to. 62% from the free throw, that's not good. That's where he's going to have to improve greatly in the NBA in order for him to reach his potential. If he stays in that 62, 65 range, it's going to limit him. But I don't think it's going to limit him to the point where he's not going to be fantastic defensively, because this dude has all of the defensive skills in the world, the defensive ability, length, and of course, as you looked at some of his teammates, help. He has plenty of that as well. So the defensive ability of this team is going to be evident straight out the gate. This is a different team this year because of the presence of a Scotty Barnes. He can guard all positions very easily. He can guard all positions at full court. I've seen him do it. It was the first thing that stood out about him. It was the first thing they showed on his draft video, is him picking up a point guard who's half his size and staying with him, beating him in the foot race up the court, and staying with him laterally as he tried to maneuver him. Scotty Barnes is a next level athlete, both dunking the ball and defensively. It doesn't translate necessarily to his shot blocking per se, but you'll see it. It passes the eye test. He can block shots with the best of them. Super quick for his size. He's an elite speed level big. Communicates elite, defensively. He communicates at an elite level. He's one of the best talkers coming out of college basketball in a long time. He switches well. He's about as good as anyone who's come out of college in a while as well. In terms of reading defenses, reading situations on defense, rather, picking up what you're going to do on offense, making reads in the pick and roll, making reads defensively all the way around. Next level, super gifted, high energy, has a motor that doesn't quit. He averaged 1.5 steals a game in college, and his opponent shot 32.7% against him. So you're seeing similar stuff there with him and Malachi Flynn defensively, in terms of guys not really being able to score against them at all. 32 and 34% respectively with those guys. So that's a huge thing. And uses his size and length very, very, very well, as you would imagine. And gifted at switching on D, as I said, energy and passing. Draymond Green type level energy. He's going to be somebody who's not only doing it on the court, but off the court, he's going to be the loudest screamer. He's going to be going crazy. He's going to be bringing energy, bringing life. You're going to know in the Toronto Raptors because of his presence alone. He's going to make sure that he's the heart and soul of this team before it's over. It's just how this goes. A great passer. That's another thing that really stands out about this guy. He's a fantastic facilitator. Average 4 assists a game, and just makes others better in general. He has that passing gene. He'll make whip passes, make entry passes, bounce passes, weird angle passes. His upside playmaking is special, very, very special. You see me mention a guy by the name of Ben Simmons. That's another aspect of his game that he shares with Ben. They can pass very well. Now, of course, Ben is elite in that area. Scotty is just really, really good. He has to work his way to where he wants to be. But ultimately, when you talk about similar skill sets, I look at Scotty Barnes as somebody who has that type of potential, passing the rock. He pass and drive option out of the pick and roll because of his shooting game being so limited. But as I said, his shooting game is coming along. So by the time he's in year 2, year 3, that might not even be a thing. His offensive game is rapidly improving, as I said. Shot coming along. So, this is a guy, a transition threat, obviously, with him having high-level dunking ability. He has a lot of those, under-the-leg dunks, high athleticism plays, stuff like that. Covers a lot of space really, really fast with his athleticism. Long strides, things like that. So you understand that this is an imposing body who's going to be very fast, who's going to be very smart, both defensively and offensively in terms of passing the rock and finishing the ball. He's a bit clunky. I wouldn't say he has next-level ball handling like Precious Achiuwa, but what he does have is the ability to put the ball on the ground when necessary, and of course make plays for others and make plays for himself. I just think that in this system, with those complementary pieces around him, people like OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher, this could potentially be one of the elite defensive teams in the Eastern Conference. And couple that with the shooting ability of a Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent, and some of these other guys, of course, you're considering Pascal Siakam and going Dragic, OG Anunoby's awesome offensive talent. I just really, really like the makings of this team. Now, obviously, they have some work to do in creating cap space and creating a little more firepower for their bench. Maybe they can make a trade here or there, particularly with the Pascal Siakam. You know, maybe make that move, try to turn him into some assets if possible. But overall, this is a team, and I think it's an Eastern Conference that's really, really tough, to be honest with you. But because they have such a big defensive lineup and some very key offensive shooters, I think they got a chance. I think they got a chance to be a play-in team. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to just fall all the way off the map and have no chance of making the playoffs. But what I'm saying is because they have so much on the back of their bench that's uncertain, so many second-round guys that are going to have to outplay their draft status and stuff like that, guys who are going to have breakout years, I just don't see them being deep enough to really make any noise in the Eastern Conference this year. I really don't. I love the top of their team, though. So if they make some trades and get themselves a bench, yeah, we talking. I like their big lineup, but it's just after that lineup, when you start digging into that bench, it's going to cost them some leads. It's going to cost them some games. They're going to lose games because they're just not deep enough. They're going to need good health. And in a year where I look at all of the protocol, you know, COVID restriction protocol stuff that's going on out there, you just hope that they don't have any issues with that or any injuries at all. And if they can stay healthy, find good roles for these players with high upside like Malachi Flynn, scoot him up now that Kyle Lowry's gone, give him more minutes. I think they're going to be very good. You know, that's the thing about Malachi Flynn. He's a really, really high statistical player, particularly. When you give him a lot of minutes, he's going to do a lot for you. And that was evident immediately. There wasn't no role for him, you know. So he's somebody I'm paying very close attention to see what he's able to do with the minutes given, because I think his upside is much higher than I was really able to describe in this video. I really do like Malachi Flynn. And so, yeah, they got a lot of good stuff. It's not like this isn't a good team. It's just I look at the back of their bench and I'm not excited with like 7 or 8 of those names, to be completely honest with you. So Nick Nurse is one of the best coaches in the league. Masai Ujiri is one of the best GMs in the game. And I would imagine they're going to find a way to create some flexibility to give themselves a strong bench over the next several years. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. I don't know what their pick situation is, but I hope they have their picks. If they don't have their picks and they miss the playoffs, they're going to feel really good about bringing in another lottery player into this team. And that's not their aspirations. If I'm a Toronto Raptor fan, I just won a championship 2 years ago, so I'm not saying I'm playing to miss the playoffs, not at all. If we make the playoffs, you're happy. But if you miss the playoffs, you understand that this season is not necessarily about making the playoffs. It's more so about developing the identity of this new team post Kyle Lowry, developing Scotty Barnes and Precious Achiuwa and turning them into the imposing defensive forward tandem that I know that they're going to turn into. It's about making sure that Fred VanVleet steps into his role as a star guard and continues to stay healthy and continues to do what he does. You know, you're looking at guys like Gary Trent, hoping that they make a jump. Maybe he can be a contestant for the three-point contest this year. That's the type of thing that you're looking for the Toronto Raptors this year. Don't worry too much about winning a championship and none of that nonsense. Just look for individual improvement on these players and collective gelling over time with this year. And I think going into next year, when they make some noise after a solid, good season, they can attract maybe a free agent after making a trade, get some flexibility, and really get themselves in a position to play for something bigger than they'll be able to this year, because the makings of them being a good team over time is obviously there with these young prospects. So I like Toronto a lot. Hopefully they have a very healthy season. And yeah, that's what I got, man. Big fan of you guys and your culture and everything, the music that's going on out there. I'm enjoying it. So yeah, thank you for y'all contributions, Canada. Live from LA. I appreciate y'all. My name is BDL44. And I got one more team left, man, the Houston Rockets. I'm going to get that done this week, and I'll be complete with all of my teams. I've done the whole league. I know everybody out there. It's unbelievable. I've never done that before. But after doing homework, I can honestly tell you, it's going to be a heck of a season. It's not wide open necessarily because of the presence of the Lakers and the Nets. But if we have a situation where there similar to last year where injuries take over with those two teams. The wide openness, so to speak, of the NBA is unreal. I can see about maybe 9 or 10 teams that are legitimate title contenders. So enjoy the season, everybody. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.